Well, I am here with Nate Schatzline, the Republican nominee for Texas House District 93. Nate, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, I'm honored. I'm excited to be on.
That's awesome. Kim said to say hello to you. She's
awesome.
chatted with
Yes,
you before,
yes.
so we're excited that you were able to join. And I'm taking her spot. Usually she'd be the one to talk with you, but she's up in Tarrant County doing Tarrant County things.
Awesome.
So I'd love to talk through a little bit about your campaign specifically.
Absolutely.
Very interesting. You just got off of a runoff that was a heck of a race up there in Tarrant County.
It was intense. It was a lot.
It seemed like it was all the way down here in Austin,
Yeah.
but talk to us a little bit about the political divide of that particular race. I think it very clearly highlighted kind of the factions of the Republican Party.
Sure.
We had a local government official, we had a political newcomer. Those are two very different types of candidates.
Yeah.
Very different support for both candidates.
Yeah.
Talk to us about how that all shook out.
Yeah, I think it comes down to, I think Tarrant County, specifically North Fort Worth area, which is where District 93 is, with the Hazlet area, a little bit of Keller. They're looking for someone who's going to get in there and actually take a stand on some of the issues that seem to be infiltrating our country, infiltrating our schools, whether it be, the issue with, the entire trans movement coming against our kids in the schools, CRT invading our schools. These happen to be the issues that I'm the most passionate about. I have a background in education. I've taught on a collegiate level, and I've seen these things firsthand. I've seen that if we don't get this under control with our public education system, with even our private education system, and make sure that parents have the final say in their education, we're going to be in big trouble. And so I'll be honest with you, I think the biggest divide between the way I ran my race and my opponent was simply that I didn't say the normal political things that were, on everyone's brain of, hey, let's look at the economy. Those are important things. But the reality is, I feel like what we did is we spoke directly to the parent that is incredibly concerned with the next generation. Because the reality is this: do we need property tax reform? God, yes. I mean, we truly do. Tarrant County has some of the highest property taxes, but what good is it to lower property taxes if we lose the next generation? I think we spoke directly to that inside of our campaign, and it showed. I think the voters wanted that.
And I think those issues particularly have been some of the hottest that we've seen in Texas in the last year, 2 years. So let's talk about them. Child gender modification, explicit materials in public schools.
Yes.
School choice is even kind of on that docket
I'm a big
because
proponent.
it affects those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Those three issues, where do you stand on them?
So school choice, I'm a huge proponent. I met with some state legislators that are currently in the House about 2 weeks ago. We talked through how we could actually get that passed. We're looking at, the big argument. I'll just speak directly to this because reality is I was the grassroots candidate, and the grassroots movement is even kind of split on this specific topic with school choice, because their idea is, hey, we don't want the government being able to put any regulation on our homeschooling, on our private schools, and I completely agree. But my argument would be they could do that if they wanted to right now anyway. And so why not give parents who can't afford to put their kids in a private school the opportunity to do so? And here's the thing that I always say, because then you have the other side of people who are huge proponents of public education system, which obviously we want our public education to succeed. Fort Worth has some of the worst test scores you've ever seen. And so we're looking at it. Competition has never hurt any industry, and it's never hurt any business. We have to look at our ISDs the same way, that the moment you give parents the opportunity to have competition in that education system, Fort Worth ISD, which speaks directly to where I live, is going to have to raise the bar and raise the standard in order to compete with these private schools, with home schools, with co-ops. This is so vital. So I'm a huge proponent when it comes to making sure that school choice is a priority. Gender modification is huge. I don't know if you've seen the documentary What is a Woman, but it's revealing. It's revealing at how absolutely outrageously crazy some of our nation has gone. And I think it's a small minority. I think they're very loud, but I think it's a small minority. And you see the massive regret with some of these adults that are now coming out and saying, wow, I can't believe my parent, my guardian allowed me to get this surgery that now has affected my life in such a negative way that they're now dealing with mental health crisis. And this is something we have to address, that, as an adult, you can do whatever you want, when it comes to your own physical body. But as a child, we've got to protect these children from making lifelong decisions over a moment of having a feeling. And I think that breaks down into critical theory. And going into your next question about critical race theory, if we teach critical theory, the underlying basis of this concept in the education system is simply that, how you feel is your truth. Well, that's simply not true. It doesn't matter if I feel like this ceiling is white, it's clearly black. And so you have to call it what it is, because truth is absolute. And so I'm a huge proponent of school choice. I think it's a big deal, and we've got to take a stand against gender modification.
Very good. So in terms of other priorities upon entering office, it sounds like social issues are very near and dear to your heart. What other things are you looking to tackle upon?
We've got to make sure our small businesses are helped. We have to make sure that we can remove all government overreach. I'm a big limited government guy. So anything we can do to free up small business growth is huge. Anything we can do to, a lot of people talk about, especially in District 93, we're a middle upper class district. We've got a lot of warehouses, we're right off I-35. And so obviously infrastructure is a big issue when it comes to the road systems and the massive growth that's coming. But a lot of people want to talk about, we need Fortune 500 companies to come into Fort Worth. Well, I actually am on the other side, and I think that's great, but I also want to guard the culture that we have in District 93. And rather than just putting our sole focus on bringing large companies in, one of the big things I think that is important is making sure our small businesses have the ability to grow to be a Fortune 500 company. And I think the more we support small businesses, the greater. So any type of government regulation we can remove is huge to me. Other priorities, lowering property taxes is huge. And so, we've been talking about it for session after session after session. I'm actually dedicated to getting in and doing something about it. We're going to have to address the shooting in Uvalde. But taking away guns is never the answer. And so it's looking at how can we resource schools for protection and safety? How can we tackle mental health issues and make sure that we are addressing, if a student showing signs of mental health crisis, let's give them the resources they need and make sure that that small population of people that would actually commit a heinous crime like that are seen, so that we can address the issue, protect our children, whether that's arming teachers, whether that's making sure that we have officers in every single school. We have got to make it a priority. And then lastly, I'll say this. I know I've gone way too long, but the border crisis is huge right now. So near and dear to my heart is the anti-human trafficking movement. I'm very involved in that in Fort Worth. And so looking at it, people love to make the border crisis a race issue, when in reality it has nothing to do with race, everything to do with trafficking. Right now we have the largest supply of fentanyl coming across our border. We have the most arrests for human trafficking in Tarrant County. The most arrests that have been had in Texas is happening in our county right here. This right here is a massive crisis in our nation. And it's going to affect every single area, whether it be, jobs, whether it be the housing crisis. The reality is we don't even have the infrastructure to be able to support the millions of people that have crossed over the border illegally. And so getting down to the bottom of this, working with the governor, making sure that we put in solid legislation to secure that border is going to have to be a priority.
Obviously, growth is a very big deal in Tarrant County as well.
Huge.
Just Texas, period. What can the state do? What should the state do, if anything, to address that need?
I think it's going to come down to infrastructure. I think it's also going to come down to make sure, when we talk about inflation, when we talk about really supply chain shortages are killing us right now. So my wife's a realtor, and the reality is like she's being bought out by investors. And then the reality is there's not enough supply to build houses quick enough in Tarrant County to be able to build enough homes for the supply that's there. So, or for the need that's there. And so I think making sure that we're, helping out, again, those businesses, making sure that we're removing regulations, making sure that we're protecting these companies that supply all of the supplies needed. Construction companies, these are the types of people we need to be honestly working very closely with, hearing out their needs and being willing to listen. And so I'm dedicated to doing just that.
Last question for you before I let you get back to your life here at convention, but I would love to ask, going into November, Tarrant County has been a hotbed of political activity for a long time.
Yeah.
It's, hung its hat on being the largest Republican urban suburban county in the country. Where do you see that going? We have seen Democrats win the county in different offices throughout the last 4 years. What do you think this will look like as a midterm election for Republicans?
We got a red wave coming. I'm totally confident. This is going to be the best, what I believe could be the best session that we have. But more than anything, we have so many hardcore conservatives that have risen up and ran for these seats. And I think the voters have spoken loud and clear. They are winning left and right, our race included. And so looking at it, I look at people like Tim O'Hare, who just won Tarrant County Judge. What a patriot. He's going to bring so much common sense to that office. I look at Phil Sorrells, who just came in as district attorney for the Republican nominee. These are the races we need to get behind, and I'm telling you, I truly believe there's going to be a red wave in Tarrant County that far exceeds anyone's expectation. I know this last election cycle, presidential election cycle, we saw a little bit of a shift towards blue. I think that's over. I think Joe Biden's failed policies have exposed to Tarrant County that we cannot let Tarrant County go blue.
Nate, thank you so much for stopping by.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks so much.